So the last thing we covered is we covered this list view demo 3. And again, and what we did is when we run it, the event is on the actual click of the list item, okay? The list view. So when we click on the list view, it actually then kicks off down here the list view get selected mode, selected item property add listener event, and there's a lambda. It goes ahead and grabs whatever selected item there is and puts it into the string, and then it puts the selected into the set text of the selected name label. Okay, so the whole point of that is just to say, hey, we don't have to have a button, we don't have to have any other thing. We can actually use a click event on the actual list view item itself. At the bottom of page 860, it talks about adding items versus setting items. When we add an item, that's going to add it. So if we've got an existing list of items, it's just going to basically put that at the end of that list. When we use set, it says if nothing's there, it'll set the items, add them to that list view, or whatever item and we've kind of covered this when I think we covered the list item, the list array. And when we do a set, if something is already there, it's going to overlay the top of that. So that's the difference between add and set. Add adds it to whatever's there. If nothing's there, it just adds it to it. Set basically will replace things that are there. And they kind of show that example there at the top of page 861. You've got add all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then when you say set all Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it actually replaced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So be careful when you're using set and adds. We can initialize a list view with an array or an array list, and I think we do that in the next example. I can't remember. Yeah, I thought I had these created, but apparently I didn't. Yeah, I had examples for the previous class, and I did not save them. But anyways, they're on page 861. So what you can see is we've got an array of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I create an observable list. That's an observable list array list takes an array or an array list as an argument. So we've got this thing called an observable array list, and it takes either an array or an array list as an argument, and actually then puts that into a observable array list. So we create an observable array list, and notice we've got the qualifier less than string greater than, and it's going to be an str list, and fx collections dot observable array list, and then we're going to basically put that array list under the argument. And then we can use a list view control to basically then display those items of that observable array list. So basically the whole point of that is we have this thing called an observable array list that we can take an existing array or array list and basically put it into that. And then we can actually utilize it within JavaFX. And they kind of got some other examples there where we use a string array list dot add. We can add it to that, and then we can make that string array list and then put it into an observable array list item. I think that's what they do on the top page 862 as well. Yeah. So they're just basically manipulating lists and arrays and array lists, and then using those as arguments into this observable array list. So yeah, observable list. Now, this next section on the bottom of page 862, we talk about selection modes. And what we've seen so far, when we have in a list array, I'm sorry, a list view. When we have a list view, we've only been selecting one item at a time. So again, if I run this, if I click on Steve and I try to hold down the control key and hit anything else, it will only let me select one item at a time. We do have the option of selecting multiple items. And what that looks like, let's just open up List View Demo 4. So we create a regular list, a list view, and this is called List View 1. We instantiate it as a new list view. And then we set the size and width. And up here we've got two constants, width and height. So we go ahead and set the height and width. And then you'll notice we got this thing called List View Get Selected Selection Model dot Selection Mode. And then inside the parentheses is Selection Mode dot Multiple. Now I could do this. I'm going to copy this right here. And I'm going to go back over here to this where we create this list view, and I'm going to basically put this, I'm going to call it list view, and you'll notice that I could type a period and a capital S, and I have single. And what that will do is that will basically only allow us to select one at a time. Well, here's the deal. If we don't set the selection mode, it automatically defaults to selection mode single. So again, when I run this, and again, this is that previous one, if I try to select multiple, it will not let me because we've got this single in there. But again, we don't have to do that because that is the default. But if we needed to put that in there, we could, just so that we let everybody know that we're only allowing single selections at a time. But if we go over here to back to the List View Demo 4, we have the width and the height. We got the selection mode dot multiple, and then our list view dot get items add all. We go ahead and add all 12 months. Now we come down here and we basically create another list view, and this list view we set the width and the height. It doesn't have anything in it right now. And then I've got button, get selections. And here's my get button set on action. So again, when I click on the button, it's going to call this event lambda. And there I create an observable list, string selections. And we're going to basically get the list view dot get selection mode dot get selected items. So over on page, go over on the bottom of page 863, it talks about retrieving multiple selected items. So there we can actually say get selected items. Notice that it's plural, get selected items. So that allows us to get anything that's selected. And what we're going to do is we're creating a new list, an observable list. It's going to take only strings. The name of it's called selections. And it's equal to the list view that we have up here. It's going to grab those selected items and put it into this selections. Now, what we're then going to do is we're going to take this list view 2. Remember the list view 2 that we created up here? It's empty. We're going to say get items set all. Now notice we're using a set here. We're not doing an add. And we're going to set the selection. So whatever this observable list selection has that we got from the list view 1, we're going to add it to list view 2 when we click on it. We're then going to create a VBox. So it's going to basically be horizontal or vertical this way. We're going to add list view 1, list view 2, and a get button. So we're going to have list view 1 on top, list view 2 on the bottom, and then a get button at the bottom of that. And again, they're all going to be separated by 10 pixels. We then are going to set the padding to 10 pixels, so around the entire inside of the VBox, it's going to have a padding of 10. We're going to set the alignment to center. We're going to put that VBox in the scene. We're going to put the scene in the stage, and we're going to show the stage. So let's go ahead and run this. So notice we got all of our months up here. So what I can do is I can click on January. Notice that when I click on January and February and March, it does deselect the previous one. But if I click on January and hold down my control key, now I can click April. I can scroll down and click August and October. And when I click on the Get Selection, watch what happens. It basically puts those 4 items in there. Now if I go back up to the top and I click February, notice when I clicked on February, deselected everything else. Hold down my control key, click April, November, and December. And now when I click, now remember, we're doing a set. We're doing a set all and not an add all. Since we're doing a set, watch what happens. It's going to replace anything that's in that list view 1. Or I'm sorry, list view 2. So anything that's in list view 2 will be replaced because of we're creating an observable list that loads an observable list. So think of an observable list as kind of a holding place for the things we've selected, and then we use that as input into list view.getItems set all. Now, if I change that to add all, so I've got my January and February in there, and if I select 2 more, watch what happens when I click Get Selected. It adds it to that because I did add all and not set all. So it's very important to know when to use add all and when to use set all. I'm going to change that back to set all. Okay. So any questions on that? Okay. So on page 866, we talk about working with elements of an observable list. Again, remember, an observable list has much in common with an array list. Everything that you've already learned about array lists also applies to an observable list. So everything an array list has, an observable list has as well. It's got a bunch of bullet points there. It says you can use the enhance for the loop to iterate over an observable list. You can use the get method to get a specified element. You can use the size method to get the number of elements. You can use the add method to add elements to an observable list. You can use the remove method. You can use the set method, which we've seen those. So we can convert an observable list to an array. That's over on page 867. And we can take that. So once we create our observable list, then I can create I can take that selections. So in this case right here, I could actually type that selections right here. And if I type selections dot to array, notice that I can actually convert this to an array. Right now it's an observable list. It's part of the Java FX parameters of the imports that we've done. But we can convert an observable list to an array. We can use on the top of page 868 talks about using code. I wish they had examples in the book for this stuff. Using code to select an item in a list view. List view methods to select an item. I can say this. I can say, let me get rid of this stuff. Oh, don't want to do that. I can say list view to dot select. Oh, darn it. I can do select first, and that will grab the very first item of the list view. I can do select last. It'll actually grab the last item of the list view. I can do select all, so I can grab everything inside the list view. And I can do select indices, and that will basically pass one or more of the indices, so I can actually say dot select indices. And in there I can actually type the indexes of the items that I want to grab. So I can do that as well. I can do select a range, where I can type range, and in there I can basically say give me the range of 4, 12, and that will grab everything between the 4th indice all the way through the 12th indice. So we got a few different things we can utilize in list views to grab certain parts of that list view. I can grab the first item, the last item, I can grab an indice of one, I can grab a range. Any questions on that stuff? Again, I wish they had examples that we could see it. At the bottom of page 868, it talks about list view orientation. It says by default the list view controls are vertically oriented, but we can orient them horizontally this way. So I can actually say set orientation, orientation horizontal. So I could do this. I could say list view 2 dot set orientation, and I could actually say orientation dot, and I can actually select horizontal. Now notice it's all uppercase. That means that is a constant within that orientation class. So now what happens when I run this? Let's see what happens. I probably don't have something set up right there for that. Notice it's not. Yeah. Well, I think they've got an example in this next one. But anyways, we'll see a better example of that here in just a few seconds. We can create list views of objects other than string. So again, at the top of page 869, I can create a list view. Notice it's got integer, less than, integer, greater than. That means that list view will only handle integers. And again, we can throw that in there. I can do doubles, same thing. But notice inside the less than and the greater than symbol is the class integer. So it's not just the int, the primitive data type, it's the actual class integer. Let's open up list demo 5. And again, so we got our constants width and height, 120 and 100. We're creating a list view of integer data types, and it's called list view. And we're going to set the width and the height. We're going to do at all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice we have the selection mode set to multiple. I've got output control, output label, new label, select some numbers. I've got a button called get total, and here's my total button dot set on action. Here's my event lambda, and it says when we click on this, if the list view dot selection mode dot get selected item is not equal -1. I think we covered this last time. If the index is -1, that means nothing was selected. So again, remember, we kind of touched on that on the skateboard design. I changed all my get selected index equals 0. So if it's anything greater than or equal to 0, we're good. But if the selection is a -1, that means, guess what? We haven't selected anything. So we're going to display a message. Yeah, again, I don't like this because I don't like the not equal to -1. I'd rather have it down here. But anyways, it says if it's not equal -1, that means we're good. We're going to go ahead and create an observable list of integer data type called selections. We're going to go ahead and get all these selected items and put them into this observable list. We're going to create a integer total equals 0, and then we're going to do an enhanced for loop where we got int num and selections. I mean, just going to take the selections, grab each element one at a time, and put it into num. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the num and add it to total. So we're going to keep doing that till we've ran through all of the different selected items. And then our output label, we're going to go ahead and put we're going to change the integer to string and make it a total. Now, why did we do that? Why did we convert this total into a string? Because the set text only handles string data. So the output label.setText, we take this total, it's an integer data type, we convert it to a string, and we throw it into the output label. If the get selected items is equal to -1, we're going to then put nothing selected. We create a VBox, padding, spacing of 10. We put the list view, the output label, and the total button in there. We set the padding to 10, so the outside padding is going to be 10 pixels. We align to center. Put the VBox in the scene, put the scene in the stage, and we show the stage. So when we run this, there we have our different numbers here. And so I could actually, highlight 2, hold down my control key, click 4, and hold down my control key, click 5, and when I click get total, it's 11. So 5 and 4 is 9, and adding 2 is 11. And I can redo it as well. If I just wanted to do 3 and 4, that becomes 7. So any questions on that? I thought we were going to have a horizontal. I thought we were going to have a horizontal. Let's see. Is that? Now this next one's really cool. It's List View Demo 6. Let's look at List View Demo 6. And there we have. We have no global variables, so we got a label called myLabel and set to hello world. Is that right? Yeah. We got a VBox. We put myLabel in there. We set the alignment to center, and we set the padding to 10. Next thing down, we've got a scene. We load the VBox. That doesn't look right at all. Wow, that's just a hello world. Did I opened up CSS demo? My bad. Got to open up List View Demo 6. Okay. Okay. So now that I'm in the right spot, so I create a constant of width and height, 425 and 200. And I'm going to create an image, a spades image, and it's file aspades.png, king spades image, king spade png, queen spade image, queen spade png. We then create an image view for each one, and we put that image inside of the image view. So there I create the image view. Here's my object, ace spades IV. Instantiate as a new image view, and it's the A spade image object. I do that for the other two as well. I create a list view. Notice it's an image view data type. And it's going to, the object is list view. It's instantiated as a new list view. I go ahead and set the pref size to width and height, and here it is. Here is the set orientation horizontal. So this particular guy is going to go this way as opposed to up and down. So because the default for list views are basically vertical. I could change this to vertical, but we don't have to because that's the default. So, but we change it to horizontal. We then go ahead and add each one of those those image view items into the list view. Then I've got string card names. So I'm creating an array, a string array of card names, and it's ace of spades, king of spades, queen of spades. I've got a label, output label, and it's instantiated as a new label, and it says select card. Now, here's where I get my selection mode. So now, notice what we're doing here. This is like that very first item we talked about earlier, this list view demo 3. When it's ran, the actual selecting the item is the event that we're basically going for. So in list views demo 6, it says list view.getSelectionMode.selected item property.add listener event. So it's listening for an event. In this place, it's the click event. When we basically do some type of event on this particular list item, it's going to automatically execute this method right here, this event lambda. We create an int called index, and it's set to the list view.getSelectionModel.selectedIndex. So now the index of the item selected is now in this index. Then we're going to say output label.setText card names index. So up here in our card names, so this guy's got 3 items in it. It's 0, 1, and 2. Our list view has 3 items in it. It's got an image view 0, image view 2, 1, and image view 3. So ace spades IV is 0, king spades is IV is 1, and queen spades IV is 2. So they correspond with these text of this array down here. So what we're going to do is whatever we have selected, we grab that index, and we're going to use that to pull back whatever card name associates with that. Okay, we're going to throw the list view and output label into a VBox, spacing 10. We're going to set the padding of that VBox to 10. We're going to basically set the alignment to center. We're going to throw the VBox in a scene, throw the scene in a stage, and we're going to show the stage. So when we run this, and when we copied all those images into our workspace, there they are. So it says select a card. If I click on the middle one, it says king of spades. Because why? This image view, one I just selected, the index is 1, and it's going to grab, in that string array, it's going to grab the corresponding item with that same index. Queen of spades, ace of spades. Any questions on that? Okay. I like that one because it's really graphic. Kind of a fun little images there. Okay. On page 874, we have this thing called combo box controls. So combo boxes are kind of like list views, except they just look different, meaning they show a box and we click on an arrow and it drops down. It's called a combo box. Combo box allows users to select an item from a drop-down list. Okay, so instead of showing just a list, the list view shows just a list of items. The combo box takes up a lot less space, and we have to click on the drop-down to see all of the items. So some of the combo box methods on 875, page 875, I've got get value that returns the item that is currently selected in the combo box. Get value, and inside it is the value, selects the value in the combo box. Set visible row count, and inside there's going to be count. The count argument is an int, and it sets the number of rows or items to display in the drop-down list. Set editable, and then we put a value in there. The value argument is Boolean. If the value is true, the combo box will be editable. If the value is false, the combo box will be uneditable. And then we got show, hide, and is showing. So is showing returns true or false to indicate whether the drop-down list is visible. So at the bottom of page 875, we talk about retrieving, and we're going to get into these here in just a second. The example we're going to see. Retrieving the selected items. So we've got a string of selected equals combo box.get value. So it's going to call that particular item. So let's open up combo box demo 1. Let's take a look at it. If I expand this import, you'll notice we have a, where is it? Yep. javafx.scene.control.combo box. So we come down here in our start. I create a combo box, and it's just like a list view. We have to tell what type of data is going to be allowed in it. And in this particular case, it's only allowing strings. It's lowercase c combo box is instantiated as a new combo box. I got combo box.get items.add all England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. So up to this point, it's pretty much just like a list view. Got get items.add all. I've got an output label, and it's going to have select a country on it. I'm going to create a button control, and it's going to have get selected on it. And here's my button control lambda. So when I click on it, here's the event listener. It's going to basically, when it's clicked, it's going to say output label.setText combo box.get value. So whatever we have selected in the combo box, it's going to grab that value and throw it into the output label.setText. I create a VBox, spacing 10. I'm going to put the combo box, the output label, and the button in there. I'm going to set the padding to 10. I'm going to set the alignment to center. I throw the VBox in the scene, put the scene in the stage, and then I show the stage. So when we run it, uh-oh. Did it run for you? I think I forgot to put that in. Is that right? Anyways, why don't you like my combo box? Module Java. Did it work for you? Okay. So this is upsetting. Yeah, I'll have to figure out what's, there's something wrong with my build path, and I don't see what is wrong. Huh. Anyways, so as you saw what happened, it basically created a drop-down box. Let me see if combo box 2 works. Yeah, that one works. Why is that? Yeah. What is the difference between combo box 1 and combo box 2? So as you can see, yeah, it creates a drop down, and there's the England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. So here's what the difference is between combo box 1 and combo box 2. So combo box 2 says, guess what? We're going to basically have a click event on the combo box itself. So if we come down here, it's identical to combo box 1, except for when we come down here to the combo box. Did combo box demo 1 have a, it had a button, yeah. It had a button on there that. So combo box 1 had, so that when we click the drop down and then click on something, click OK, it basically displays it. At combo box 2, we don't have a button. We have a combo box.set action, and here's our event listener. That's a lambda, and it's going to take the output label and set the text to whatever the combo box.get value is. Okay, so when we run it, select the country. If I come down here and select England, notice the output label now says England. And if I click Ireland, same thing. So instead of having to deal with a button, we basically have the event listener on the actual combo box itself. Any questions on that? Okay, because it's pretty much just like, again, I don't know what the difference between combo box 1, I'll have to look into that. Now, on the top of page 879, we're going to talk about editable combo boxes. And an editable combo box allows the user to type in their own information. So it's kind of like you're going to give somebody a selection, and then you're going to have a fill in the field if there's something else that you want them to be able to add. So what we can do is, I could do this, where I create my combo box here on line 24. If I go just below that, I can actually take this combo box object, so combo box, and then do a dot set editable, and I can make it, it defaults to false, but I'm going to make it true. And when I do that and I run it, the combo box looks a little different now. Notice I've got a flashing insertion point. I can click on the drop down, I can select one of those items, but I could also type in here. I could actually type in USA, and when I basically hit the enter key, notice what happens. It puts USA in the output label. So set editable equals true allows, so if you're giving the user a choice of items, you can also let them type in their own item as well. And all you got to do is set editable true. The default is false. Any questions on that? Okay, top of page 880. Now this is kind of a cool one. This is called the slider control. And the slider control allows the user to graphically adjust a number within a range of values. So it's actually, if you look at the picture there, you can actually see it. You can actually grab the little ball item and slide it in the control itself. The slider is designed to represent a range of numeric values. It the slider control has a numeric value, and as the user moves the knob along a track, the numeric value is adjusted accordingly. The slider control has two constructors. The no_arg constructor creates a slider with no minimum value, with a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of 100. So if we use the no_arg constructor, it defaults to 0 through 100. The slider's initial value will be set to 0, and no tick marks will be deployed. It'll just be a slider with no little tick marks to let you know what's going on. Top of page 881, we show an example of slider. Slider is instantiates a new slider, 0.0, 50.0, and 25.0. So it says the following element creates a slider with a minimum value of 0, a maximum of 50, and the initial value of 25. So it's going to have a slider that the very top's going to be 0, the very bottom's going to be 50, and the slider's going to be right smack dab in the middle, sitting at 25, the little ball. We've got some methods. We've got set orientation. We can set it vertically or horizontal. We can show tick marks. We set a Boolean value of true or false to show the tick marks. We can set major tick unit. So we can actually have really wide tick marks and then narrow tick marks in between the wide ones. So, maybe we have 50, 60, 70, 80, and then we've got 10 little hash marks in between, meaning that they represent each one, each tick mark. We can also set minor tick marks. That sets the number of minor tick marks places between the major tick marks. How many do you want? Do you want 10? Do you want 5? So on and so forth. We can set the max. We can set the minimum. We can set snap to tick mark. So that means as you're dragging it, you can actually drag it between two tick marks and make it 25.3. Or we can say snap to the tick mark, so when you slide it down, it'll automatically snap to the tick mark to a whole number. We can show tick mark labels. So I'll actually show the label for each little tick mark, as you see over there on page 880. We can set block increment. The value argument is double, sets the amount by which the slider's knob is moved when the slider clicks the slider's track. You can have it go 10 picks at a time, 5, 2, whatever you want. We can set the value. The value argument is a double. It sets the slider's current value. Get value obviously will get whatever value the slider is currently sitting on. Okay, let's take a look at slider demo. And so here, inside of our start, we've got a bunch of constants. I got a min set to 0.0, a max set to 100.0, and the initial is 0.0. I've got another major tick unit of 20, minor tick count of 5, and the slider width of 300. I have a couple of other constants. I've got a double label width of 50, and the spacing is 10. So come down here, I've got a label called F descriptor. Instantiate is a new label called Fahrenheit. And then F label is a new label 32.0. So I've got F descriptor and F label. I say F label dot set style, and then I'm going to do the solid and center. So the border style is going to be solid. I've got the F label dot set preference width. It's going to be the label width up here at 50. And we're going to create an H box called FH box. Instantiate is a new H box. We're going to include the spacing, which is 10, the F descriptor, and the F label. So again, it's going to be horizontal this way. Set the H box set alignment, position center. So then I create a label C descriptor is instantiated as a new label Celsius. The label C label is instantiated as a new label of 0.0. It's going to have a border that's solid, and it's going to be aligned center. The C label dot set preference is a label width, which I believe is 50. And the spacing is set to 10. So here's the H box, C H box, and it's going to have the C descriptor and the C label, and it's going to be centered as well. So here's where we basically get into the meat and potatoes. I create a slider object called slider, instantiated as a new slider. We're going to have the min, the max, and the initial from those constants, which is 0, 100, and 0. It's going to set the show tick marks to true, set the major tick mark unit to the major tick unit. I think 20 and 5, okay. And set the minor to 5 tick. And then set the show tick labels true, set snap to ticks true, and then set the pref width to slider width. Okay. Then looks like we're going to use a slider event listener, and it's going to basically, so here's our add listener. Inside there is observable, old value, new value. We haven't talked about those yet. Have we? let's see, observable and, okay. So it looks like this add listener is going to be passed an observable, the old value and new value. We got a double Celsius, and it's equal to the slider.getValue. We got a double Fahrenheit, and it's equal to 9.0 divided by 5.0 times Celsius plus 32. Then we're going to put in the C label, and we're going to use the string.format. It's going to be rounded to the 1 decimal place. We're going to have Celsius. The F label is going to be rounded to 1 decimal place and show Fahrenheit. We're going to put in a V box, we're going to put the FH box and the CH box in the slider, spacing of 10, alignment center, and padding is set to spacing. Or I think that was 10 as well. We're going to put the V box in the scene in the stage, and show the stage. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And there it is. Now let's take a look at this. So we've got our label and our text box, and it's set to 32.0. We've got Celsius set to 0.0. And here's our slider set at 0, goes up to 100. And notice that the major ticks are 20. So I see 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and it's got 5 tick marks between them. There's the minors. And as I slide this, look what it does. We can actually see it changing the numbers. When I let go, it will snap to the tick mark. So Celsius 33 is 92 degrees. You guys probably grew up with Celsius, didn't you? Yeah, so you guys, yeah, I hear somebody go, boy, it's 25 degrees Celsius, it's pretty hot. And I go, hot? That seems cold to me. And then I do the conversion, so 25 would be what? That's almost 80 degrees, so yeah. So it snaps to the tick mark, yeah. Yeah, I can either go 23.3 or 26.7 because it snaps to the tick mark. So what I could do if I really wanted to get more tick marks is I could set the minor tick count to, let's make it 10. And now when we run it, we can get, now see, we got more tick marks between here. I can get very precise. So I could get to 25.5. I can get very precise on how I want to basically get to this. Any questions? On page 885, we get into this thing called the text area control. So we've seen text boxes, and text boxes are just a single line of text. A text area gives us a big area to type a lot of text. So it says a text area is a multi-line text field that can accept several lines of text input or display several lines of text. And that basically shows an example there at the bottom of page 885. We do have some methods for a text area. I've got set, I'm over on page 886. It's set pref column count. And it's basically, you pass a value to that, and the value argument is an int. It sets the preference number of text columns. The default value is 40. So it'll be 40 columns wide. Each one of those columns is a character. Set preference row count value. And obviously, it's going to tell how many rows that text area will display. Default is 10. Set wrap text value. The value argument that's passed to that method is Boolean. If the argument is true, then the text area will wrap the line of text that sees the end of the row. Probably a good thing to make that true, because you don't want it to scroll off to the right-hand side. Get text, obviously we'll get the text within the text area, and then set text. We can actually then set the text that basically is displayed inside of there. So the following code is example. We got text area equals new text area set columns 20, set row count to 30, and then set the wrap text to true. I can't believe they don't have an example here. So let's do this. Let's do a right click on chap 13. Let's point to new, and let's create a new class. And let's call this text area demo. And we're going to click finish, because what we're going to do is let's go back over here to the let's go to the list, the combo box demo, and let's do a what's a good one? Oh, you know what? I do have a text area demo. I take it back. Guess what? Oh no, we don't. That's one we're currently in. My bad. Let's do this. Yeah. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah. Let's open up the metric converter. Let's expand the imports. Let's do a Control A, a Control C. Let's go back over to our text area demo, and inside of there, let's just basically highlight let's highlight everything on there, and let's do a Control V to paste. And we're going to come back up here and change where it says metric converter. Hover over that. It's going to say rename to text area demo, and do that. So, where it says private text field, kilo text field, let's change that to text area. And we get done, notice we got a red squiggly line. We're going to have to hover over that red squiggly line. And we're going to import the text area JavaFX. Okay, so we're good. And we're going to need to change this kilo text field. We're going to need to change that to text area. And I think we're good. I think if we run this, again, we'll see the default text area box. So that's what it's going to look like. So we could do this. Down here where we create this area, we could actually come down a line and say kilo text field, it's actually a text area, dot set pref, and let's make it column count, and let's make it 15, and kilo text field dot set pref row count, and let's set that to 5. So now I got the column count to 15, the row count to 5, And now when we run it, that box is not going to be as big. So notice it's now 15 columns wide and 5 rows long, 5 rows. So what's nice about that is we can type stuff, type a whole bunch of stuff. Now notice since I don't have word wrap on, did you see what it did? It automatically brought in a scroll bar. So another thing we could do is we come down here and say kilo text field dot set w wrap text to true. And now when we save it and run it, when I basically go past that other line, see what it does? Now it's wrapping. It's automatically wrapping. Now here's what's nice. Even though it's displaying 5 lines, watch what happens. It will go beyond 5. It just says, I'm just going to show 5. But if you need to type in 20 lines, I'll let you. I'll just put a scroll bar on there so you have to see all the different items. And since we have word wrap on, it's basically just going down. It's all going to be contained within both columns here. So any questions on text areas? Again, a really nice way to be able to get a whole lot of text and basically deal with it. I can't believe they put a whole section on text area and they don't have any examples. Okay. On the bottom of page 887, we're going to get into this thing called menus. So menus are nice, is we can actually have it do certain things within a drop-down menu at the top of our form. So it says JavaFX provides classes for creating systems of drop-down menus. Menus can contain menu items, checked menu items, radio button menu items, and other menus themselves. So kind of think of those as submenus. At the bottom of page 87 is a nice example of what a menu could look like. Notice we've got some selections. We've got some submenus there. We've got some check boxes. On page 888, it says the menu system in the figure consists of these following items. We have a menu bar, and at the top, that basically will display at the top of the dialog box. The menu bar in figure 13 shows the names of the 2 menu items. So if you look on page 887, the bottom of page 87, where it says File and Edit, that is the menu bar. The menu is a drop-down part of the menu item. So it's just like a combo box. When you click on the item itself, a drop-down appears. That's the actual menu. Each little name tag inside of there is a menu item. So the menu item can be selected, like I said, check boxes or display a submenu. So we have a check menu item, basically allows us to put a check box in front of something. We have a radio button menu item, so it brings down like a set of radio buttons that we can check on one. We check the next one, it deselects the previous one. We can have a submenu, so I can have a menu inside of a menu, which is a submenu. We can also put in a separator bar, so you have a little bar separating different sections of the menu. So the menu system is constructed with the following classes. So there's different classes for the whole menu item. We got the menu bar, that's a class. The menu is a class. The menu item is a class. The check menu item is a class. Radio button menu item is a class. All these classes are in the JavaFX scene.control package. This is the process of building a menu system requires the following steps. We create a menu bar object. That has to be created first. Then we create the necessary menu objects and put them into the menu bar object. For each menu object, We create a necessary menu item object and add them to the menu object. We register an event handler for each menu item object. So we're going to basically create an event for each one of those menu items. We're going to add the menu bar object to the scene graph. So let's open up Simple Menu. So here we have at our start, we've got two constants, width 300, height 200.0. They're doubles. We got menu bar. Menu bar is instantiated as a new menu bar. Simple enough. Okay. Then I create a menu. It's going to be called File Menu, and it's going to be instantiated as a new menu, and it's going to have the word File in it. Then I'm going to create a menu item, and it's going to be called Exit Item. It's going to be instantiated as a new menu item, and it's going to be called Exit. I'm going to say file, so file menu dot get items dot add exit item. So it's going to put this exit item inside of the file menu itself, where it says, so we have file. The exit item dot set on action event. So again, it's using the lambda, meaning when we click on the exit item, it's going to say primary stage dot close. Remember, the primary stage is the window itself. It's going to close that window. We say menu bar dot get menus dot add all file menu. So we have to put the file menu in the menu bar itself. I got a border pane, instantiated as a new created a border pane and instantiated as a new border pane. The border pane dot set top menu bar. So at the very top of our dialog box, we're going to create a border pane. We're going to put the menu bar inside of that border pane. I then set my border pane width and height. So basically my scene is going to be set. So normally we've been putting H boxes and V boxes in there. This time we're putting the border pane in there, and we're going to set the width and the height of our scene. I put the scene in the stage. I show the stage. So we run this, and there it is. So there is our border. So we set our border pane, new border pane, and then I say border pane set top. So the top of the border pane, it's going to basically put this menu bar across there. When I click on File, notice it's got Exit. If I click outside there, it closes the menu. If I click File and I click Exit, it's going to call that event, and it says primary stage dot close. Pretty cool. Is that all we can do with the menu? No, we got a lot more that we can do. Let's open up text menu. So, again, if I look at my imports from my Java FX, look at I've got menu bar, menu, menu item, check menu item, radio menu item, separator menu item, toggle group, and border pane. So it looks I've got some global object variables. So I'm creating a menu bar, a menu file menu, a menu text menu, menu item exit item, radio button menu item, black item, red item, green item, blue item. Then I've got a check menu item called visible item. So again, it looks like we're going to have multiple methods down here. So all of these object variables are going to be usable in any method down below. So in my start, I've got two constants, width and height. Just set to 300 and 200. My output label up here. Do I have an output label? Oh. Oh, here it is right here. Yeah. Global variable, private label, output label. Okay. So again, that label is usable by everything inside of this project. So output labels instantiates a new label, hello world. Menu bar is instantiated as a new menu bar. Build file menu. We're going to create the file menu, and we're going to put it in the primary stage. That's a method. Build file menu primary stage. Here it is. Yeah. So that's a method down below, and we got the primary stage. So I'm going to instantiate the file menu as a new file menu with the word file in it. I'm going to instantiate the exit item object as a new menu item, exit. So we've seen that before. The file and the exit just the same as the other one. The exit item.setOnAction. So here is my event listener. It's the lambda type. If I click on the exit item, it's going to call the primary stage.close, which is going to close the entire window. And then file menu.getItems add exit item. Okay. So we create these two items, and then we go ahead and add the exit item to the file menu item. I don't know why they did the event listener before they did that file menu to get items add. Okay, so then I've got my build text menu. So I come down here to build text menu, and here's my text menu is instantiated as a new menu text. Black item is instantiated as a new radio menu item black. Red, green, blue, and then here's my check item menu called visible. So we got 4 radio buttons and a check item. My black item.selected item is set to true. Visible item.set selected is true. So the visible is going to have a check mark in front of it. We're going to create a toggle group because remember when we have radio buttons, we have to put them in a toggle group. So I create a toggle group, and then I set the black item, red item, green item, and blue item to that toggle group. Now look at that. I'm going to have an event listener for each radio button. It's my black item. If that's clicked, the output label.set style fx fill text fill black. So basically, it's going to change the text to black. In our output label, so if we click on red, it's going to change the text fill to red. Click on green, it's going to change the text fill to green. If I click on blue, it's going to change the text fill to blue. The visible item.setOnAction event. So if I click on that button, if the output label is visible, we're going to set it visible to false. Else, we're going to set it to true. So it's going to be a toggle event. So when I uncheck it, it's going to basically make the text visible. When I check it again, it's going to be, so if it's unchecked, it's invisible. If it's checked, the text is going to be visible. Then I'm going to add those items to the menu. So text menu get items to add, black item, red item, green item, blue item. We're then going to have a separator menu item, and then we're going to have our visible item. So we're going to have a line separating the radio buttons and the checkbox. Okay. So after I called those two methods, I'm going to say menu bar.getMenuItems.add file menu, menu bar.getMenus.add text menu. So it's going to add these two menus to the menu bar. I create a border pane. Then I say border pane.set top menu bar, and it's border pane.set center output label. We'll see what those look like here in just a second. Then I create a scene. I put my border pane with the width and height and the constants. I set the scene to the primary stage. I show the stage. So when we run this, so there I have my file menu.add, text menu.add. Yeah, so it adds those to the, so there they are. There's my file and there's my text. If I click file, there's my exit. When I click text, notice it says black. And notice that our hello world was sitting right here in our label. Watch what happens when we click red. It changes that to red. Click the drop down and click green, and it changes, because down here, in our event, it says output label dot set style text fill black. I notice it changes to green. When I click blue, it changes to blue. Now notice visible is checked. If I uncheck visible, look what happens. That's now invisible. If I check it again, it's now visible. I change it back to black. Now you'll notice also we got this line right after blue, and that is the separator. There's our separator menu item. So pretty cool stuff. Any questions? Now, you've probably seen this before. It's called mnemonics to a menu item. So here's what we can do, is we come back up here to the top where we have file. If I put an underline in front of F and an underline in front of the X, watch what happens when we run that. When I do a save and run, it's really hard to see. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show up, but there should be, the letter F is underlined, and the letter X should be underlined as well. So if I hold down the Alt key and hit F, yeah, there it shows up. That's crazy. It doesn't show up until I hit the Alt key. So if I click Alt F, it brings up that item. If I do Alt X, F, and then Alt F, and then X, and then it executes that. So Alt F, and I'm still holding down the Alt key, and I do an Alt X. We could probably do that with the black, red, green, and blue. I could probably do a up here for text, I could do underscore in front of the T, an underscore in front of the B in black, in front of the R in red, and the G in green. But now notice blue, I can't put an underline in front of blue because that's going to not correspond with the black. So I'm going to put it in front of the L for that, and I'm going to put it underscore in front of the V in visible. So now when I run it, now when I hold down the Alt key, notice there's an underline in text. I can do the text, and I could then, while I'm holding down the Alt key, I could do an R for red, G for green, L for blue, then I can do T text again, black. I can do the T again and do V for visible. T again and toggle the visible that way as well. So mnemonics is a great way to allow your user to keep their hands on the keyboard, not have to use the mouse. So kind of a nice feature to do that as well. Okay, any questions on menus? Okay, on page 897 we have the File Chooser class. This is the JavaFX provides a file chooser class that equips you with the application with standard dialog boxes for opening files and saving files. So the file chooser class in JavaFX is a stage package, and it can display two types of predefined dialog boxes: an open dialog box or a save dialog box. And to do that, we can actually do, and I don't know why they don't have an example for that either, do they? Yeah. So you just do a file chooser. So yeah, so we could do, let's do that right here. I have to do it up here inside the main. Oh, let's do it right here after the menu bar.get menu items. Let's do a file chooser. File chooser is equal to a new file chooser, left and right. So it's a no arc constructor, and I'll have to point over to the red screen and import the file chooser javafx.stage. Okay. And then I'm going to come down here and do file selected file. No, I'm sorry, uppercase I have file. File select file is instantiated as a file chooser dot show open dialog, and we're going to put the primary stage in there. And I need to import that as well. Import the file java.io. Now what happens when we run this? Does that just show a, yeah, see how it brings up a dialog box right here? And allows us to then open up a file. Yeah. So any questions on that? Okay, bottom of page 898 is using console output to debug a GUI application. It says when debugging a GUI application, you can use the system.out.print or println or the printf to send diagnostic messages to the control. So let's open up console debugging. And so here we've got two global object variables. We got a text field called kilo text field and label result label. I think this is pretty much doing the metric thing again. So down here we've got our label. Prompt label is instantiated as a new label. Enter a distance in kilometers. I instantiate the kilo text field as a new text field. Here I got my button calc button as a new button calc. And here is my event listener for the calc button when we click on it. And here, now, look what we're doing. This is for debugging purposes only. We do a printf, reading. Now this is anything after the %s, that's basically a string from the text field in, and it's going to grab kilo text field.get text. It's going to put that in the S right there. We do another printf, converted value, f, which is a float, and we got a new line. That's got a new line as well. And we're going to grab the kilo text field.get text and put that right there after the % sign. Then I do double kilometers equals double parse, so I get the kilo field, text field, get text, convert it to a double, throw it to the variable kilometers. I then take the miles is equal to kilometers times 0.6214. My result label .set text string format. Basically, we're going to take the miles and have it to round to 2 decimal places, and basically convert it to a string and put it into the text of the result label. And then look what I do: sysout println ready for the next input. Now, the only reason we're doing this is we're basically putting these things in the console to print down here, and this is for debugging purposes only. It's showing us what's in those fields so that if we have to debug something, we know what's going on. I think that's the only place I got them. And again, this is identical to the other kilometers. What was it called? Metric. Yeah, metric converter. It's identical to that, except we've added those printf statements. Sysout printf. Okay? So now when we run it, it comes up and I can type in 67 and click convert, and look what it puts down here in the console. Reading 67 from the text field, converting the value 67.0000, ready for the next input. Okay? So, if I came in here and put in the letter E and click convert, it says ready for the next input item, reading E from the text field. And guess what? It comes down here and says for input. So we've basically got a JavaFX application thread for input string E. Internal math floating decimal point read for. So we can see right there, we can see that the user put it in E, and we can see that we got a floating decimal point read Java format string. So it's basically says, hey, I'm trying to do a conversion of this E numerically, and it's basically blowing up on that. So I can actually see what the user put from reading E from the text field. So it helps in debugging. I used to, everything that I basically ran, I had a program at work, and I would put, when I'm going into a method, I would say, going into this method with this value. And then at the bottom of that method, I'd say, I'm leaving this method with this value. And I would actually write it to the console. Now, the only problem is the folks who run the programs, the servers that run that. So think about every time it calls that method, it's writing 2 lines in that control. Well, they've got a log file that all that stuff's written to, and that thing would just basically get super, super huge. And the the server folks would call me all the time and go, hey, can you knock that off? Your log files are in the gigabyte range. We need to basically turn that off. And I'm saying, oh, sorry. They said, only use that if you need to, if there's something critical that you need to basically use, but don't put it in every method like you're doing. I said, okay, sorry. So I kind of got my hand slapped for that. But again, it was nice to have so that if I did have a problem with one of my programs not running correctly, I could go in and look on my log file and I could see, oh, this is basically what happened where it blew up. So I had to be very selective on how I use this type of debugging, because like I said, just think if you ran this program, let's say we had 100,000 records we're reading, and think about every time it would go into a method it's writing to the console, how huge this console would be. It would basically just be full of a lot of information. So kind of use this type of thing sparingly, but again, it's, for what we're doing right now, it's perfectly fine to do. But just think about a huge program on how that could really fill up this log file. So any questions on that? Okay, yeah, again, a really nice way to kind of see what's going on inside of your program, just writing it to the log file. Okay, so that is it for chapter 13.